Welcome to the Legacy LaunchPod, where we help families build and scale their online business to the six-figure mark and beyond so they can break the poverty cycle, build generational wealth, and make a huge impact in the kingdom of God. It all starts right here. Hey, welcome back. It's Leah here with Legacy LaunchPad, and I'm here on a very blustery day. And as it turns out, I'm recording this on my birthday. Not just any birthday, but my 40th decade. 40 years I've been alive on this planet, plus the 9 months that I was in the womb, I suppose. So here we are on an extremely kind of stormy day. We are rebellious little adventurers on a trail that's been closed and nobody's supposed to be on here. And yet we just park outside and walk in anyway. Because what are you even doing if you don't teach your kids which rules to break? I'm excited because, believe it or not, I had recorded a whole second part about our good Airbnb experience and what we learned about business through that, only to find out that my microphone had died. And so when I listened back to the audio, it was terrible and you couldn't really hear it. So doing this again, and I'm telling you, I think this has happened to me a number of times now when I go to record this podcast. Guys, let me just say, not everything is a sign from God that you're not supposed to do something or an attack from Satan. Sometimes it's just a technical malfunction and it doesn't mean anything. Because I come across people who are always like, everything means something. Sometimes it just is part of the human experience. Okay, quick win of the day in our community. One of my students, I can't actually log into my app right now to quote it, but we were on a call this week and it was so exciting because he had been trying for months to work this one niche that he had chosen. And then he was like, you know what? I am going to test a bunch of niches that he was like, okay, I'm going to throw some spaghetti against the wall. And in this way, it was like very purposeful, very intentional. And he tried 5 or 6 different niches to see what would get traction. One of his videos, one of the niches that he experimented with, got well over 2 million views. Tons of people messaging him, and he already got paying customers from it. So this was a huge win in our community. He was telling all my students, he's like, I got to encourage you guys, just stick with this program, stick with what we are learning and doing, and actually try it. Don't give up when it doesn't work right away. You can make pivots and still win. He ended up going with a golfing niche, and it was so different from what he first started trying. So that was a massive win for our community, and everybody is so encouraged by this. So I hope that encourages you as well. Now for our question of the day. Somebody asked me, how do I maintain my sense of purpose and keep the fire in the belly to keep going? And this question is good because every single one of us can't get away from this. Every single one of us eventually is going to run into some days where we don't feel that motivated, where we don't feel like, I don't know, is this worth it? I'm doing all this work and I'm not seeing the result yet. Like, what do I even do? It's one of the first lessons that I have people do when they go through Legacy LaunchPad, which is your purpose, right? Your bigger why, your deeper why. Some programs have you spend the entire time on your why, which is silly because all you need is something that you can truly grasp onto, a desire that is bigger than your fears and doubts and the obstacles in your life. If you can grasp a hold of a vision and a desire that trumps everything else, you're never going to struggle with motivation. And so I don't struggle with motivation, really. I mean, I have a day or two where I'm tired or I'm like, I come to the end of my rope in terms of energy or something for the day, but never am I unmotivated. I am never unmotivated because my vision for legacy, my vision for a family estate and something I want to leave to my kids, my vision for impact is so much bigger than my comfort. It's bigger than my current skill set. It's bigger than all the obstacles that could possibly come my way. And I'm willing to put myself out there. I'm willing to move through it and do the actions and the behavior rather than wait till I feel a certain way and wait till I feel motivated. If you don't have that vision, the Bible says that without vision, the people perish. And so you're not going to have anything to leave to your kids. You're not going to have a legacy if you don't have a vision first. And I don't just mean in the physical sense. I mean, this vision should be holistic, right?
there should be a spiritual component. There should be a physical component. It's two cities and one kingdom, right? It's not two kingdoms, it's one kingdom, but two cities. There are earthly city, heavenly city, but it should be all encompassing. So what do you want to do? These go into deep things like, why are you here? What's your purpose? And just because you don't know like your entire future, like if some of you guys struggle with like, I don't even know what my calling is. Well, it's whatever is the right next thing for you to do. That's your calling. Aside from being a wife, mother, friend, whatever God has called you to in your roles, outside of that, it's whatever the next right thing is for you to do. If you feel pulled into business ownership, or if you are feeling drawn into entrepreneurship, then it's the next thing, right? I'm not saying the next opportunity is the one, but if you feel a passion for face cream and helping women be less wrinkly, then that's it. That's it for now. And that's your stepping stone. And don't make everything so esoteric, right? So your calling and your vision, your motivation, your why, that's big and that is spiritual and it's all encompassing. But the means to that end might not be that profound. There are people getting rich with Post-it notes. Do you think that when that person invented Post-it notes, they thought that was going to be a world-changing product? Probably not. Were they thinking about building family empires off a sticky piece of paper? Probably not. But that doesn't mean that God won't use Post-it notes or something just as seemingly trivial to help get you there. I hope that answers that question. Keep them coming in. Anytime you have a question for me, just say, here's a question for the podcast. Send it to me in email or on Instagram, and I will write it down and add it to my note here. I will answer your question on the next episode. Okay, I'm here to record part 2 of the Airbnb experience, and maybe we'll come back for more because this isn't about Airbnbs. It's actually about 5-star customer service, right? It's about 5-star experiences. How can we make whatever it is we're offering the most incredible experience that people never forget? The type of experience where they tell their friends, their family, leave you incredible reviews, and where you become a household name or whatever you're building, your brand, whether it's an Airbnb or it's a digital product or an e-commerce product, that becomes known around the world, or at least in a specific market, and you become the big fish in a little pond. How do we do that? There's lessons to be learned absolutely everywhere. On our travels, I'm always reminded of this in a very real way. When you're experiencing something such as an Airbnb, it doesn't become any more apparent than that. You can immediately feel when someone has put in effort or when someone has not put in effort. I want to talk about the contrast. We talked about one example of an Airbnb experience when we were in Ireland and when my daughter and I were in Paris. Our impressions around what was given a lot of effort, and some of them are cultural things. Some of them were legit just effort or non-effort. And the contrast of going somewhere where you could see someone had clearly put in so much thought, so much detail, so much care into every nook and cranny that you couldn't help but notice it. It wowed me in the first 15 seconds of walking in. And then it left me with a wow impression at the end. And it couldn't have been more positive. It doesn't mean that it was perfect, but it was very positive. The second one I wanted to talk about was the one we stayed at in the Cotswolds in England. And this is, I think, our family's one of our favorite top spots in all of England. We absolutely adore the Cotswolds. It's such a great, charming place that's romantic. You just fall in love with it when you see it. It feels like you've stepped into a storybook just by walking around and looking at the villages. If any of you aren't familiar with the Cotswolds, it is a region in England. It's in the southwest area of England, about 90 minutes outside of London. It's not one village, it's about 10 different villages. Some of them are like an hour apart, so they're not, some of them are close and some of them are far away. So, but you can do tours, you can see a number of the villages in a day. All of them have their own unique charm, and it's really cool. So one of the things that made this a good experience right out of the gate was when I booked it, or I requested to book it, the guy reaches out, and made some nice conversation, right? So that's nice. And then found out we were from the Vancouver area. Oh, I have family members there. So there was some rapport built, even though it was short. Building rapport out of the gate is always a good idea, especially if there is somewhat of a high ticket sale. Like an Airbnb, you don't think of it as high ticket, but it often can be, especially if you're staying somewhere for a few days or a week. Building rapport is a good way to warm people up. Rapport means there's a friendly understanding and you have something in common that you can find. It's just basic relationship building. Like if you were to meet somebody new at church or whatever, and you're trying to find, what are they interested in? What do you have in common? Could you be friends? And, you try to find things that create and establish some level of connection. So he did a good job of that. The other important thing after we got it booked was about 3 or 4 days before we checked in, he sent me a nice, big, long instruction guide of exactly what to expect. All the things we would need to know. It was a big, long paragraph, not overwhelming, but quite a lot of detail. Like some of these old cottages are very finicky. You got to shake the doorknob a little bit or whatever. And so, some very specific instructions how to get in the place and all of that. And as soon as I showed that to Steve, he was like, oh, now that's customer service. Why did we have that perception? Well, because the previous place we stayed at didn't do anything like that. Most people, I would say, it's out of the ordinary that somebody wouldn't send you instructions, but this just seemed more specific so that you couldn't miss it. You couldn't not figure it out. Not only did he send a long piece of instruction, but he also sent a digital guidebook. It was a digital version of what a lot of people have in a binder with all their recommended restaurants and recommended, places to see and do around the area and house instructions, all that. Well, he had a digital version, which I liked because I didn't need to rummage through handwritten papers. I could just click on a link and it was all there and it was organized. So I liked that. And now maybe other people want to put more of a handwritten touch to it, but he did some other things that made it more personalized. So what I liked about this host guide, he was using some kind of app to do it, and it was just a single link. I didn't need to sign in or anything. He had his favorite restaurants and things like that chosen out, and then he said specifically, when I went here, I tried this. So you got to try this sandwich, or you got to try this coffee at this cafe. So I liked that. Here's the thing that really wowed me within 15 to 30 seconds of walking in. This is a more luxurious experience. The cottage was really old, like hundreds of years old originally. I don't know how I'm going to get over this pathway without getting my shoes wet. It's super quirky, right? This place was decked out to the nines, like 3 floors, not that big, but 3 floors, and every inch was decorated so tastefully. I will post pictures. I think I said before, I can't remember if it was in the episode that got deleted or if I said it in the previous one, but I will make a reel showcasing this beautiful cottage. It was actually a townhouse, so it's connected to other ones. And it was absolutely stunning, like this old world charm, and yet it had the modern amenities you need. You walk in, go down the little hallway into the kitchen, and on the table, not only a bottle of wine, but also a fresh bouquet of flowers with my name written on the card with a whole welcome note, handwritten. I'm sure the florist lady wrote it, but I was like, okay, that's next level. That's something people don't normally do. That's the experience of surprise and delight. And I don't care what you're selling, if it is a course, if it's just digital products, if it's physical products, if you're in real estate, I don't know what it is. But if you can find a way to under promise and over deliver, people will be singing your praises to everyone they know. That's one of the fastest and best ways to create an army of advocates. Customers who have had that experience will do battle for you with trolls and people on the internet because you have made them feel a certain way. And so what's the power of doing something that people don't expect? Like a bouquet of flowers with a handwritten note. Thank you for staying with me. I'm so excited. I hope you enjoy the place. The bottle of wine sitting on the table is, I didn't expect it. Now, if I had expected it and then I didn't get it, now that would turn it into something completely different, right? I might be disappointed and be like, oh, I didn't get my money's worth. I didn't get what I asked for and what they advertised. That would turn it now into a negative experience, right? Because now the expectation hasn't been met. So it's very different compared to not expecting it. Now it's a gift. Somebody just went above and beyond At the end of the stay, I messaged the owner and I'm like, you know what? I just got to tell you, I love how much attention to detail you put into your place. I can tell that you love your home. I can tell that you have put so much care into this and the decorating. Like, you have amazing taste. Whoever this man was, I could see on his profile that he was into interior design. He was amazing at it. Absolutely amazing. Everything was impeccable. So I told him that with the flowers and the wine, I just gotta say, you blew me away. 5 stars from me. Then I sent him a photo of me sitting in the living room enjoying the place. And he said, you just made my day. Thank you so much for sending that. And it just was like good feelings all around, right? Good vibes all around. It makes you feel so good about your purchase, especially when you've spent thousands of dollars. It makes you feel so good that you spent that money. Like, you couldn't be happier to spend that money. You're happy to spend it again. Like, if we were in that area again, would we stay there again? Yeah, I would be happy to give him more thousands of dollars because of the good feelings, right? And the good feelings came because he not only met the expectations, but he went over and above. And that's the key with your customers, with your clients. You don't want to show them all your cards. You got to leave a few things for surprises, even if they're small, like something they're not expecting. I tell you all this to get your wheels turning a little bit. These are the kinds of things we go real deep into inside Legacy LaunchPad on our coaching calls. We come up with really specific strategies and teachings for that. But I want to get your wheels turning a little bit. What could you do to surprise and delight your customers in a way that doesn't expend your energy? All this guy did was get a bottle of wine and then order the florist. This florist was literally across the street, like across from the actual shops. He just ordered the flowers and she wrote the note. But the fact that he was being so thoughtful, I think thoughtfulness is a lost art in business. Sometimes business owners are stingy, and sometimes customers are stingy, and they're not gracious. This is where I come in. I'm like, okay, if we are not just business owners that happen to be Christian, but we're actually Christian business owners, there's a difference. How can we surpass the best of the best in terms of transformation in people's lives? I just think that Christians should be some of the best people in the world at this. Not only hospitality, Airbnb service, hotels, or personal hosting, but I also think Christians should be the best at surprising, delighting, thoughtfulness, and honestly offering the most amazing customer service. It's an art that we can all get better at. So the thing that I want to challenge you today is to just start thinking about how you can improve your customer service experience. How can you improve it from the moment they learn about your services, your product, all the way through to the unboxing experience? The unboxing experience in this Airbnb would be when we walked through the place and noticed what it was like, right? That's the unboxing. All the way through to the instructions on how to leave, all the way through to the instructions on how to pack up or leave the place, and then ultimately the feeling we're left with at the very end. So yeah, these are a lot of basics, right? It's communication. Are you communicating really, really well from your customer's point of view, not your point of view? I would say that even just from every point of view when it comes to decorating. Like, if you were to sit in this spot that your guests are going to sit and you just look around, go, what's missing? What's too cluttery? What's too empty? The last place we were in before this, it was too empty. It was like, this feels weird. It's actually like not enough decor. All the walls are bare. There's not even a rug on the floor. Like, there's nothing except the actual furniture. It's strange. I think the key to a 5-star customer experience, regardless of the industry, is to put yourself in their shoes and see it through their eyes. And that's actually a deep one. That is a multi-layered approach and could take you weeks to really sort through, depending on the industry you're in. If you were to do that, there's no way they're not going to have an infinitely better experience than what they currently have. I'm going to pass the mic to my daughter, Electra, because I want to see what her experience was from her point of view with that particular Airbnb compared to the last one. So what was the biggest thing that stood out to you about the second place we stayed at?
Looking at how the whole place was decorated, you could really tell that there was a lot of thought put into it. and that the guy really cared about the experience his customer would have. The place wasn't too empty or cluttery. I was pretty impressed, especially based on the last place.
That was the general experience that everybody thought as well. If I had to critique one thing, I think that a lot of Airbnb owners who don't have large families underestimate how much toilet paper a family uses, especially if there's more than 2 people. So we had to buy more, but not a big deal. Like, that's not going to affect my review. It was more than the previous place. So with that said, I hope that gets your wheels turning a little bit. There's always lessons to learn everywhere we go. No matter what we're doing in life, there's always new lessons to learn. So I'm always looking for those hidden gems because I want to improve. I want to get better. And ultimately, this is all about leaving a legacy. How do you leave a legacy? Well, you have to, if you're starting from scratch and you didn't inherit anything, it means that you're the foundation builder, right? It means, like, if you look at the cathedrals or the castles in Europe, some took hundreds of years to build, and the first generation only built the foundation and the very beginnings of it. They never saw the end result for several generations. Some of us are the foundation builders, and we aren't going to see the end result. We have to pass that vision on. But even to get the resources to build that foundation, it requires money. We're going to be talking a lot about money on this podcast because of so many hang-ups people have about it. If we're going to do anything, if we're going to have impact, if we're going to leave a legacy, if we're going to build something of value, it's going to take resources. Those orphans you want to feed, it costs money. The church you want to build, the school you want to build, the wells you want to build in Africa, like, it takes money. You can't have that level of impact without money. So you better get over your issue with money and start looking at it biblically, because God wants his people to prosper. You need to really believe that in your core, because if you don't, you will do everything in your power psychologically to stop it from happening. You will do everything in your power subconsciously to prevent yourself from getting money or from becoming successful. You will sabotage. This concept is talked a lot about in a book I recommend my clients called The Big Leap. You have to sift and sort through a lot of these books. Yes, some of them have some of the new agey stuff in it, but you got to chew the meat and spit out the bones, because until there's more believers like us teaching this, we have to use a lot of resources that you have to filter through. And that's just the way it is. That's why I'm trying to help raise up a whole new generation of people who can speak truth that is uncompromised and speak to the fullness of it, and not have to work so hard to filter every single thing someone's saying through a lens. So if we were going to build a foundation, you got to have money to do it. And if you're the foundation builder of your generation and your vision's big enough that it's not going to be finished with you, you're going to have to pass it on to your kids or someone else or a CEO one day or a team of people, then you better get really good and really clear with your vision. So if that's you, and it's time for me to get serious, it's time for me to get some guidance, I want you to reach out to me in Instagram DMs, or you can send me an email, and I would love to help you get started. So this is your call to action today. If the time is right, reach out to me. Talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in today. Don't leave just yet. I've got 2 things. Number 1, if you enjoyed this content, if this was of any value to you, please leave me a review and share with a friend. This content is 100% free, so that's like leaving me a tip, and it's going to encourage us to keep making it. Number 2, if it's your desire to build your own family legacy and you want some help, send me a DM on Instagram with the word podcast, and I've got something special for you. Again, DM me with the word podcast at Real Leah McHenry on Instagram. We'll see you next time.